Hi everyone, this is Ryan at Vacation Rental Bookkeeping, and today I want to make a video for my clients about 1099 forms and make sure we're getting ready to get those filed in January. And we'll probably put this video up on the website too. It might be a help to some other folks as well. So first thing I wanted to mention to you is to make sure that you're keeping up with any requests for information I've sent you, because we do need to have all the transactions entered into QuickBooks and categorized correctly before we can produce the 1099s. So we want to make sure we finish up the year and get all those recorded. So if I've sent you any emails asking for information, please make sure that I get that from you. All right. One of the first things we need to do is decide which vendors need to receive a 1099. Now, Vacation Rental Bookkeeping is not a tax preparer or doesn't offer tax advice services. So it is really something that you'll need to research on your own or work with your CPA as you decide which vendors to send to. But typically you're going to need, at least for our clients, you're going to need to send to anyone that you had to pay rent to. So for my property managers, you're going to need to send a 1099 in most cases to your clients that you paid rent to. And then, of course, to any contractors that you paid for services, so they were not employees, but you paid them as contractors, you'll need to send them a 1099. Typically, you don't need to send them to corporations. And typically, you do not need to send them to companies when you used a credit card or other payment processing system like PayPal. Because the credit card company or PayPal will report that. You do need to send them typically if you use ACH or bank transfers to pay someone. For LLCs, normally you do need to send them one unless they choose to be taxed as a corporation. But again, Vacation Rental Bookkeeping is not your tax advisor, so you will need to research that on your own and make sure you choose the correct vendors appropriately. So first I want to show you how to choose which vendors we're going to send 1099s to in QuickBooks Online. And we're going to use this sample company here to show you what to do. So once you get logged in, we're going to go on the left over here to the Workers tab. And then at the top, make sure you're clicked on the tab called Contractors. So this is going to bring up a list of vendors that are currently designated in QuickBooks to receive a 1099. So in this sample company, there's only one vendor, this insurance company, which is designated to receive a 1099. So if this is not correct, if there are more vendors that you know that you need to send them to and they're not listed here in your company, so we need to tell QuickBooks that you want to send them a 1099. So to do that, we're going to go to the Expenses tab on the left, and then choose Vendors. And this will bring up a complete list of all the vendors that are currently in your QuickBooks file. So anyone that you've paid money out to in the last, or since you started QuickBooks, they're going to be listed in this list of vendors. Yours is probably much longer than this sample company, but you'll have a list of vendors here. So we need to go through and tell QuickBooks which ones of these we want to receive 1099s. So you can either go scroll through the list and click on them as you go. You can also click in here and search if you know there's a certain vendor that you want to add. All right, so let's say that we need to send a 1099 to this vendor, Books by Bessie. So we're going to click on that vendor. We're going to go up in the top right-hand corner where it says Edit, and it'll bring up this vendor information box. All right, so the first thing you want to do is check to see if the address is typed in here. If the address is not typed in and you do know the address for the vendor, you want to go ahead and type that in right now. Also, make sure their email address is included here. If you know the email address and it's currently blank, you want to make sure you type it in there. All right, then we're going to go down here to the bottom. And for every vendor that you need to send a 1099 to, you'll need to know either their Social Security number or their EIN number, their employer identification number. And if you happen to know that, if you've received a W-9 form from them already and you have that information, you can go ahead and type it in here. So let's just say we know that we're going to use an EIN number. All right, you'll notice how the field turns black whenever there's a correct number of characters put in. So an EIN number is going to have 2 numbers and a dash. And the rest of the numbers, you can also use a Social Security number. And you'll see it turns black in that format as well. All right, so let's go ahead and put that in. And then we need to just click this box that says track for 1099 payments. And we'll hit save. So now we've set up Books by Bessie as a vendor that we want to send a 1099 to. If we go back to the Workers tab and the Contractors tab here, we'll see that Books by Bessie shows up in our list. All right, let's go back and add one more. So expenses, vendors. And let's say that we need to send a 1099 to our CPA. So we'll click on her name, edit, and go through the same process. Make sure the address is filled in, email. If you know the business ID number, type it in, click track payments. If you do not know any of the information, if you don't know the address or the business ID number, go ahead and just leave it blank for now, but make sure you click on track payments for 1099, and that'll make sure this vendor shows up in the list. All right, so let's go back to the Workers tab in the Contractors. Now we have a list of 3. You'll probably have more than that, but here you should have a complete list of everyone that you need to send a 1099 to. If there's somebody on the list that you do not want to send one to, then you just do the reverse. Go back to the vendors list, find that particular one, click edit, and then just uncheck this box and it'll take them off that list. We'll go ahead and leave this one on there. So let's go back to the contractors list. So now we have a list of everyone that we need to send a 1099 to. So that's the first step, and that's something that I really need you to do, is make sure this list is correct. You may see some already in there, but you need to go in and make sure this list is correct and adjust it if it's not. All right, then, like I said, there's certain pieces of information that you have to have before you can send a 1099. So if we click on this vendor, QuickBooks is going to show me what information I have already. So for this one, I have a Social Security number. Remember, we just typed that in. We have the email address, and we have the address. All right, so those are the 3 things really that we need. We need a business ID number, an email address, and an address. So this one is all set. If we go back to our list, if we click on the accountant here, we see that there's details missing. All right, if I click on personal details, all right, it's going to try to have me add those in. But let's say I don't have the details. Maybe I don't know this person's Social Security number or EIN number, or I don't know their address. We have to get that information. You can't send them a 1099 until you get that information. So you have basically 3 options that you can use to get that information. You could just ask them for that information specifically. If you're going to do that, it'd probably be best if you use the correct form, which is called a W-9 form. This can be just downloaded online. If you just Google W-9 form, I found this pretty easily. You can find this PDF and print it off, and then you just give this paper to the person that you need information for, and they fill it out. They put their name, their business name. Then here's where they tell you exactly what type of business they are. So if they put down that they're a corporation, and most of the time you don't need to send them a 1099. But if they're a sole proprietorship or a partnership or an LLC, now LLC can be taxed different ways. So again, if they put corporation, then you probably don't need to send them one. But if they put partnership, then you probably will. All right, then they're also going to give you their address, and they're also going to give you either their Social Security number or their EIN number, whichever one they want you to have. And so they would give this paper back to you when you get it back. you go back into QuickBooks, personal details, and then you're going to use that paper to type in this information. And so you'd go through, you'd say, this is an individual, and then you would type in the information off of that W-9 form that they gave you. So that's one way you could do it. The other way is that you can actually send an email through QuickBooks, and QuickBooks will request the information from that person. So you click send email, you make sure their email address is in here, click send. If you click this preview button, it'll show you kind of what they're going to get. So I'll just show you that real quick. So if you use this option, your vendor is going to get this email from QuickBooks, and it's going to say your company, have your company's name here, needs some details for your 1099, and then they'll click add details now, and then this will come up, and it's going to actually have them create an account with Intuit. So they'll put in their information, and then they'll be prompted to enter the information that you need here. Okay, what's your name, what's your address, and then they'll choose whether they want to do a social security number or an EIN number, and they'll type that in and give it to you. And then once they finish that, it'll automatically be sent to your QuickBooks file, and it'll automatically be filled in here. So that's a nice way to do it, as long as your vendor will accept that email and type it in like you asked them for. But one way or the other, you have to get those pieces of information: the address, email address, and their business ID number, either their social security number or EIN number. You can't send your 1099s until you get all that information. All right, so let's go ahead and say we've got that. So we can go back to our list. So we've got all our vendors and we have all their information. Then we're going to go to prepare 1099s. All right, on this sheet, they're going to tell you about how QuickBooks will do this for you. It's a pretty great system that they have. They'll help you out. 1099 is not just something you can, it's not like this W-9 form where you can just go print off a PDF, fill it out, and stick it in the mail. You have to actually buy triplicate 1099 forms from the IRS, and they have to be, you can't just print them on your own printer. You have to buy them, mail them, and send them to different places. It's kind of a complicated process. Or you can allow QuickBooks to do it for you electronically, and it's pretty reasonable, the price they charge to do that. So this explains a little bit about that. We've got some FAQs here about that. The deadline for filing your 1099 is January 31st, so we want to make sure we get on top of this and get this done quickly. You can see that QuickBooks, though, is going to require you to have everything submitted by January 25th in order for them to guarantee that everything will be postmarked by the 31st. All right, so really you need to have this done in QuickBooks by January 25th. All right, you can see the pricing here. They do have a discount if you do it by January 16th. The first 3 forms are $12.99. Forms 4 through 20 are $2.99 each. After that, all the rest of your forms will be free. At January 16th, the price goes up a little bit. All right, if you wanted to not use QuickBooks Service and you wanted to actually get the forms yourself, then again, you'd have to buy the actual forms, and you can buy them from Intuit, you can buy them from the IRS. But like this, a lot of times you have to buy them in bulk quantities, so it really doesn't pay to do that, and then you have to do a lot more extra work. You may have to file a form with your state. You need to check with your CPA and with your state to find out if you need to file 1099 forms in your state. All right, and then what's going to happen if you use the QuickBooks system, they're going to send the 1099 to your vendors through an online portal. So they'll email them and they can actually just log in and see their 1099 and print it out. But also Intuit will print and mail a copy to the contractor as well. So they'll get an online version as well as a paper copy in the mail. And they will also file the forms with the IRS, which also has to be done. All right, so that pretty much goes through those. You can look at the rest of those if you want to. So we can go ahead and click on continue your 1099s, or it may say start if you haven't clicked on it yet. All right, once we get into here, we're going to be asked to make sure our own company name is correct. So you should see the name of your business here, your business address here. If something is not correct there, then you need to go ahead and click here and edit that. Hopefully that's set up correctly for you already. And then we need to know your tax ID number. All right, so if you have an EIN for your business, you want to type that here. If you do not, then you'll need to put your social security number in here for the tax purposes. All right, so let's go ahead and just make up one here. Oh, didn't like that one. It tries to make sure we're doing a valid one. All right, so let's go ahead and try that one. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, the next part is where we're going to tell this system which account categories need to go in which 1099 box. All right, so if you're a property manager and you paid your clients rents, then those would need to go here. And this is something that VRB will help you with. We can get most of this set up for you and then answer questions that you might have. But you're going to have to go in, and this won't really apply because this is not a property management company. But you're going to have to look in your chart of accounts and tell it which categories you use when you pay out your property managers. All right, so again, that's something that I'll help you with to make sure that part is correct. And then the other box that you probably will need to use is box 7, non-employee compensation. So that would be likely for your cleaners that you paid, because they're not usually employees, they're contractors. And any other people, maybe maintenance people you have, property managers, anybody that you paid who's not an employee. All right, so what you have to do is tell the system which categories in QuickBooks you used when you paid those people. All right, so you may have cost of labor, and again, this is not going to really match up because this is a sample company, so this is not going to match your company. But again, I'll help you get these set up. Just let me know when you're ready to do that. All right, so typically you're going to use box 1 if you're a property manager. If you're just an owner, you probably won't need that. And then box 7. All right, so again, just let me know when you're ready to get this set up and we can help you with that. All right, then what you're going to do is when you go to contractors, you're going to get a list of everybody, same list we had before, but you're going to see here if anything's missing. All right, so we have all the addresses for everybody. Here we're seeing we don't have the tax ID for our accountant yet. So we have to get that before we can finish this process. All right, if I know what it is, I can click edit and I can go ahead and enter the information there. Or I can, again, send this W-9 form, or I can have QuickBooks email them and try to get that information. I've got to get that finished before I can finish this process. All right, and then review. It's going to give you a list of the 1099s here and what's going to be included in them. We don't see anything showing up here yet because I didn't really finish the process. But when we get done, we should see a list of the vendors and then what number is going to be reported in each box. You may sometimes see that some things won't show up that you expected because QuickBooks will filter out things like if you paid them by a credit card, it's not going to show it on here because that's not required to report. Or if you paid them less than $600, it may not show it on here at all because you don't need to report that. So it does filter out some things. All right, and once we get finished with that, we'll go all the way to the last step where you'd file and get everything taken care of. So again, just in review, Vacation Rental Bookkeeping can't give you the advice exactly on which vendors to send to, so you do need to check with your CPA on that or research that on your own. You do need to get all that required information, the address, email, and the business ID number, either the Social Security number or EIN. You have to get that before you can file these. And that's something that you'll have to do. Vacation Rental Bookkeeping cannot request that information for you. You need to make sure you get that from your vendors. All right, but we will help you with getting these accounts set up here and then kind of reviewing it. Once we get it set up, we'd be glad to review it with you Try to make sure everything's set up correctly before you go ahead and file. Remember that to do that in QuickBooks, you need to have it all finished by January 25th, or they don't guarantee that everything will be submitted by January 31st. All right, so that's just an overview of what needs to be done. Hopefully that was helpful to you. Please let us know if you have any questions. We'd be glad to help you out. And I think that's all for now. Have a great day.